Hello, YouTube world, friends, family, colleagues, viewers, and subscribers. I can surely say it again. Welcome back to the Critical Cognitive Aggressive Thinking channel. This is about thinking on a higher level, learning more things, and being motivated to push yourself, drive yourself to do more than what you normally would do, absolutely on that level where you saying, hey, I'm moving things, I'm shaking things, I'm accomplishing things. Welcome back, people. My name is Robbie Williams, your host, and I am here to talk about another topic. This episode, we're going to talk about the differences between melatonin and melanin and why they are so important. Many times we have people that will be talking about the skin color and they'll say melatonin. And you wonder why, you wonder why nobody really catch it, because a lot of people think melatonin and melanin is the same thing. Now, there's a lot of people that know the difference, but I'm here just to break this out, unpack it, and say, hey, listen, there are a difference. Let's learn about it. Let's grow together. Each one teach one. Let's do this. Diving into this right now. Here we go. Melanin is a pigment responsible for skin tone, eye color, and hair color. Melatonin, on the other hand, is a hormone that regulates waking and sleeping cycles. Now, ain't that something? Two different spectrums we're looking at. The melanin is about pigmentation, and it's about eye color and hair color. The melatonin, on the other hand, is about your sleep cycle. So let's start with melatonin. Melatonin is a natural occurring hormone that mostly produced by the pineal gland. Some people say pineal, some people say pineal. Tomatoes, hey, pineal gland. And it helps control your circadian rhythm. This circadian rhythm is about the 24-hour cycle that it has a lot to do with your interclock. And it is triggered by sunlight and by the nighttime, when it's getting dark. When you wake up in the morning, the first time you see daylight, your pineal gland receives a signal when you open your eyes. That's why a lot of time it's like a little shock. When you open your eyes, you close it because you've been asleep all that time. And when you first time you open your eyes, it's like, oh, it's too bright. Well, what's happening, you're getting that thrust of light going into your eyes, going into your retina. When it hits your retina, a message goes to your pineal gland to reduce melatonin. Because at night, your pineal gland produces more melatonin in order for you to sleep. And so a lot of time people think that they're having these sleep disorders, they're having all these problems with the ability to sleep at a certain time, go to sleep right then. They want to go lay down and go to sleep. And guess what? I may have trouble sleeping tonight, but you may lay down and in 15 minutes, you're out. Because it's the amount of melatonin that has been produced by your pineal gland versus mine. So it may take me a little longer to get to sleep. You see? So we're already looking at a difference right now between melatonin and melanin. So let's continue to unpack this. So your brain pineal gland is also known as the pineal body, and it is located in the back of the brain. And you have your thalamus and epithalamus. And it's right above, that pineal gland is right above the brainstem. So it has access to send out melatonin, that hormone, throughout the body once it leaves the brain. And it does a lot of work for the body. But tonight we're focusing on the primary function, and that is going to sleep and waking up. You see? Now, when we think about that, we already know that it's in that corpus area of the brain, and it's secreting, I'm talking about the pineal gland, it's secreting melatonin at night at a more aggressive level so that you can get your sleep. It does not do it the same way during the daytime, because if it do, you'll be falling asleep during the day. And some people have that problem, especially people that is blind. Blind people have that problem because they don't get to see the light coming into their eyes and going into the retina to give that, hey, stop. So they're irregular. They have irregular sleep cycles because of that. So this is not melanin, it's melatonin. So my people, when that happens, the principle, when we talk about that brain, and we're talking about where, but we're also talking about a whole system. We're talking about the endocrine system. So we're talking about a whole system that the pineal gland is working with. Because when it sends out that melatonin, it has an effect to the whole endocrine system. So it's a lot of work going on there. And what we want to know is, do it have anything to do with skin pigmentation? No, absolutely not. Because it's focusing on sleep cycle. Now, by secreting melatonin, the pineal gland principal function is to assist with the circadian sleep cycle. And one of the little known facts that we must remember is the benefit of melatonin ability to enhance our immune system. So now, in spite of having good cells, and when I say you got good cells, and your cells are doing what they're supposed to do in the body, and then you have bacteria, you have gut bacteria, you have bacteria for your dermis, you have bacteria for epidermis. So we have bacteria for the outer layer of the skin, also inside the body. And that bacteria can help fight off the common cold and other diseases. One of the things that was very difficult to deal with when it came down to COVID, during the COVID era, you had a lot of people that you would hear the professionals always saying, they would say things like they had a compromised immune system. That means that the immune system wasn't strong enough to fight off the disease and the properties that it brought in order to harm the body. So then they had to get medication, they had to, go through treatment, all these things to help build and strengthen that immune system. That's another reason why they had to do the antivirals and all those things, vaccines and stuff like that. There's a lot going on. And it was all because the professionals, the doctors, the scientists, and everybody was like, hey, we got to figure out a way to strengthen these people so that this COVID won't kill them, basically. But guess what? You also had your melatonin at work, and that helped support your immune system. So people with heavy tones, heavy levels of melatonin did a lot better as well. So we know now that melatonin also helped in that fight. When it comes down to strengthening the immune system and supporting it, helping it, and things like that. Researchers state that the brain and the heart also benefited from melatonin. So our brain and our heart, because remember now, melatonin is produced by the pineal gland in the brain. So that's the first place, that's the first region. That's first, it starts there. Then it go out. So there's a major benefit that the brain and the heart gets from melatonin. But as we get older, the body produces less, the pineal gland produces less, slows down, and with age comes a lot of things that we're not too fond of, but the older you get, the less is produced. Melatonin also works together for women. It works differently for women because women have a lot more going on in their body. Now, basically, we're going to talk about how it helps with a woman carrying a fetus, a baby, the unborn child. Well, the unborn child receives melatonin through the mother because it is already inside. It has the luxury, if you will, to ride alone. So the mother's melatonin is passed to the child in the womb. And it also helps regulates a mother's cycle. So now, when we talk about that, we also have to remember that when we talk about this melatonin, we have to understand that healthy levels of it is good, but when you're not getting enough, then you run into a disorder. You run into different cycles of your circadian rhythm that is not functioning well because of the lack of melatonin going in the body. Fortunately, there are pills out there and what they are supplements that you can take over the counter. I say this, check with your primary care doctor always before you just go grabbing something off the shelf and say, oh, it does this, it does that. Get with your doctor, say, here's the problem that I'm having. I'm not sleeping well at night. Sometimes it takes me 2 hours before I can get to sleep. You may be wrestling with insomnia or some other sleep disorder. But check with your doctor before you start grabbing things off the shelf, because there's a lot of supplements out there for various reasons. And if you do not get the right one that matches up to your body, you can harm yourself. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me, but I rather play it safe. And that's the reason why I say that. That's my disclaimer. And check with your PCP, because you don't want to go out there trying to be some medical mind when you know you're not. All right. So when we talking about that, we talk about the advantages, and there are advantages to supplements, but we want to make sure that we get the right direction from the right professionals to move forward with that. Levels of melatonin fluctuate greatly depending on the age and the sex. And just like I said before, when we talk about babies, there's a difference from how a newborn baby would get the melatonin versus a baby still in the womb. And say they cannot even make melatonin. So when a woman is carrying, she's passing on melatonin to the baby. And it's coming through the placenta and the afterbirth. That's where all the melatonin goes coming from for the child. And I'm talking about when she's carrying. So the mother is very, very important. Ladies, I say this to you. See, a lot of time, people are not trying to tell you what to do with your body. People are not trying to tell you that you can't do, you don't have no right. Let me tell you something. You have a right to make sure you do right by your child. And that's what you should have a right to do. Do right for your unborn child. Alcohol can disrupt hormones in your body. And if you're thinking about drinking or having fun, even though, you know, well, I'm not showing right now, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Be careful out there, because a lot of times you don't know what's in this stuff you're drinking. So that's a side note, just throwing it out there. You're carrying a child that depends on you. 100% depends on you. What you take in your body, you pass it on. That's every time. There's no skips. There's no delays. What you take in your body goes to the child, that unborn child. So now we know this. Melatonin is given to the child, unborn child, by the mother. Now let's talk about the child that is born, a newborn. Newborns are not producing melatonin. They don't start producing their own melatonin from their pineal gland until anywhere from 2 to 4 months old. So that's something you have to think about. But where would they get it from? Breast milk. If you notice, a lot of doctors, especially OGBYNs, they would tell you they would rather for you to breastfeed. They would rather for you to breastfeed, because there's a lot of nutrients coming from breast milk going to the child. Okay? Now you know. And those of you that do already know, but now you know. So think about it. Unborn children receives melatonin through the placenta and the afterbirth. Newborns get it from breast milk, right? I want to say that what an incredible God we serve, to create complex bodies that can do so many things. And some of us still don't appreciate it. That's the reason why, one of the reasons why the body is the temple. Now let's talk about melanin. We done talked about melatonin, so let's talk about melanin. Melanin is a different beast, because melanin is that substance that gives you your skin tone, your color, your eye color, and your hair color. That's what melanin does. Produced by the melanocytes. So when you have that, this is not melatonin. It's strictly melanin. And it is done strictly to protect the outer layer of the body, the skin, from UV rays. So the darker you are, the more protected your skin are. It is more protected when you have darker skin. Those of you that don't want to believe it, look it up. I'm going to be leaving some links in the description box. So you can just go to it, click on it, or go key it into your search engine and look it up, because I'm all about evidence-based. I'm not going to say it if it can't be proven. And if it can't be proven, I'm going to say it hasn't been proven yet. So we're going to move on. Your body contains substance called melanin, which is responsible for the color of your hair, your eyes, and your skin. Your skin, your hair, and your eyes will be darker and more melanated depending on the amount produced in the body. So if you got heavy amounts of melanin, you're going to be darker. The less, the lighter. Your melanin will influence it is influenced by several different variables, including your genes. So when we talk about genetics, I look at myself. I'm a dark man. So my genetics can be traced back to Africa. It's just the way it is. And so when you think about that, well, how did I end up being so dark? Because my gene pool has a heavy dose of melanin in it. So most of the people in my biohistory, my genetic history, dark people. Different for Caucasians. Although they have melanin in their system, it's not as heavy dosage as African American people. So that's your difference when it comes down to Caucasians and African Americans. So another thing that has something to do with it is the exposure to the sun. You see, so, when we look at that, here's what you have to think about. Okay, so if I'm Caucasian, all I gotta do is expose myself to the sun, and then I'm gonna get dark. Yes, you will. But will it be done through the melanin in your body? No. You're just taking on the UV rays. You're just taking on the sunlight. And it's going to darken your skin temporarily until your skin burns. That's the difference. So that's something that you can also research to get deeper understanding why. So I'm not going to go into all that here because this is very in depth. And if I do, it'll be here all night. Not going to do that. So when you talk about those things, the melanin in the body and then the sunlight, now we talk about there's what they call a complex polymer that derived from amino acid, tyrosine. Now this provides pigmentation to your skin, eyes, and your hair because it is part of the melanated. It's part of melanin. All of that is produced within the melanin. So typically, the substance also absorbs this melanin, which is saying substance. It also absorbs UV rays, the sun rays. So that's why you can see blacks or African American going out into on the beaches, into the sun, and some of them don't even put on sunscreen. And they will not be hampered with severe sunburn because of the melanin in our skin. So it protects our skin. And if everyone else had the same thing, it'll protect their skin too. And I'm talking about the same level or the amount of melanin. Okay? If not, your skin would be damaged. So typically all humans have the same number of melanocytes. So although we have the same amount, however, the amount of melanin produced by these melanocytes varies. And the melanin plays an important function in protecting us from those harmful rays because of the amount, the high levels of melanin that we get versus other cultures, other people. Now, researchers believe that people who have darker skin are more prone to run into having vitamin D deficiency than other people with lighter skin. And that's researched, and that's something I don't want to get into because that's going to take us into another discussion. And I don't want to do that. But that's just, to close this up, is there is the biggest, that's our differences between melatonin and melanin. Don't get them confused. When you hear somebody say melatonin and they talking about the skin, that is not correct, or vice versa. It's not the same thing, two different things. And we just discussed that. So when we talk about vitamin D deficiencies, the UV rays are responsible for vitamin D synthesis. And that's something that, we can be concerned about having so much melanin in our skin. But outside of that, there's your difference, people. Your melatonin and your melanin. One is for your sleep cycle, which is melatonin, and the other is for skin color, eye color, hair color, melanin. That's all I have for you tonight, my people out there in YouTube world and Facebook and every other platform like Instagram that I post my videos and my content. I thank you all for supporting me just by subscribing. I don't ask for any money. I ain't worried about that. All I ask is for you to do is just share my video, give me a thumbs up, mainly drop me a line and say, hey, listen, I like that, or I didn't like it, or this is where you're wrong at. Doesn't matter. Say something. But I would like to say, God bless you all. And it is a pleasure to bring content to people. And I always would say, each one teach one, as it always supposed to be. Y'all have a good night and be blessed.